What did I just read? Hi, LA.
Hi, Holly.
Welcome, everybody, to What Did I Just Read? And this book that we're covering this episode, I picked. And I just feel like, hi, it's me. I'm the weirdo, it's me.
But I'm right there with you.
Is that Taylor Swift joke dead yet? Or did I just kill it? So I picked this book for a few reasons because I felt like it checked off a few of our boxes that we've been kind of like looking to check off. She was originally an indie author. I feel like this book has been picked up by a publishing company or house, whatever. It has a cast of diverse characters.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. Um, and it's something short and quick to get us over a book slump.
hmm
Hmm.
We did follow that advice. We were in our slumps and we needed to go back to our roots and start reading some Cuckoo Banana Pants stuff. But Holly,
Oh,
my
this
God,
book
what is
was
this?
disgustingly sweet.
Oh, yep. I agree.
Yeah, heavy on the disgust. But also like sweet in a weird way.
Are you talking about the flavor? Is that what you're
LA, it's the flavor of the whole book. It's not just the flavor of what she ends up drinking later on. It's the whole goddamn book. It's the ball sacks, the balls that are size of oranges, and the dicks that I can't even fathom. It's like two Coke cans. I don't even I don't even know. Like I'm over here trying to figure out with my hands like how exactly
No, no,
big.
no. That's how much we need to probably talk
Okay.
about what book
Yeah,
we're
we
talking about
do.
and the
So
author.
we're getting ahead of ourselves. We have read The Morning Glory Milking Farm. The Morning Glory Milking Farm, CM
The
Nascosta.
monster bait romance, and it's part of
Yes.
a series.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we should give I we need to give a brief summary about this book. I tried hard to think of my own summary for this book, but honest to God, whatever I could write is not ever going to be better than the summary
Yeah.
that they have provided for us on
Oh,
Goodreads. Have
are you
you
gonna read it?
have
No,
you
I
read
haven't.
it?
No, tell me everything.
Okay. Violet is a typical down on her luck millennial, mid 20s, overeducated, and drowning in debt, on the verge of moving into her parents' basement. When a lifeline appears in the form of a very unconventional job in neighboring Cambric Creek, she has no choice but to grab at it with both hands. Okay. Morning Glory Milking Farm offers full time hours, full benefits, and generous pay with no experience needed. There's only one catch. The clientele is grade A certified prime beef with the manly, meaty endowments to match. Milking minotaurs isn't something Violet ever considered as a career option, but she's determined to turn the opportunity into a reversal of fortune. When a stern, deep voiced client begins to specially request her for his milking sessions, maintaining her professionalism and keeping resolve to make a dent in her student loans and afford name brand orange juice and a one sided crush on an out of her league Minotaur is not a part of her plan. Unless her feelings aren't so one sided after all. Morning Glory Milking Farm is a short human monster romance. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, there we go. Just the grade A prime beef line. I mean, delish.
Oh, this book. So you follow Violet. She gets a job at
Mm-hmm.
basically it's a factory,
It's a
sort of.
pharmaceutical company where they
Yeah.
are jacking off minotaurs to use as erection medication for humans.
There's semen, which she never uses semen.
No, or sperm
Yeah,
or spunk, never.
nothing. No, no, they are the terminology, not, and she doesn't use jacking off or masturbating or anything. She is milking him
Mm.
with gadgets and devices, and she's in a
Mostly
nursing
hands.
outfit.
It's like
Well,
mostly
she has
hands, and
the
then there's a fleshlight that like I imagine looks like one of those like milking tubes that they pop onto like heifer udders,
Mhm.
but for a minotaur penis instead.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she falls for one of her patients, if you want to call it a patient, and that's this, and then
Client. He's called a client.
client. Yeah. And this is their love story.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Ugh.
imagine having kids and then talking about how you met.
Bananas.
Cuckoo pants.
Bananas. It kind of, you know what it's like is like, a sperm bank? Like, I feel
Hmm.
like this is her version of what a sperm bank is because it's so awkward. Like, men have to go in and
Yeah, but
donate.
the men
And
are doing it themselves. It's
yeah,
not
I know.
like
She took it one step further.
I don't understand the need of Violet at all in this situation. That to me is bonkers.
Well,
What?
because she talked about other factories in other towns, and
Mhm.
this one has a special touch, which is these
Hers?
technicians. Yeah, literally. Oh God. There were a lot of irks that I had with this book though. Should we talk about star do you want to talk about star rating?
Yeah, let's do star ratings. Mm, overall stars. It's like 3 for me overall.
I think entertainment for me, 5. This is what I
Yeah.
needed. This is amazing. I think I'm gonna give it, like, for creativity and like funness, probably a 3 or 4. I think I'll end up at a 4.
Hmm.
But you know me and masturbation. Fucking love it.
LA, that's like this whole fucking book. Masturbation is really a solo job. Um, so if you yourself are counting a hand job as like masturbation, then you must have been having
She
like a
does.
fucking she does masturbate. Yeah.
Yeah, she has her own stuff. This is kind of like a masturbation, not really. And then there's some, what is it called? Like, not voyeurism, but it's like public when they were at the restaurant and he fingers her, and like public, I guess,
Yeah.
sexual stuff. But and then they do have sex, and that was so this whole book. So you
Mhm.
have probably 15 scenes of Violet giving, and his name, by the way, which is not mentioned until halfway through this
Halfway through the
book.
book, you have no idea what his name is. He's just the
Yeah.
special client with the purple sticker.
And he's a clock watcher. So these technicians, they label their clients certain things. So
Yeah.
there's the men that are wealthy usually, and they watch the clock. They're there just to donate and get their money and check
Pump and
out,
dump.
pump and dump. And then there's the earners, the ones that I guess are pretty
Trying to get
efficient. Like they,
Yeah, they're trying to get as much milking as they can to get as much, I guess, because they get money from it, so they're trying to get as much money as they can from it.
yeah. And I think that they're the most often clientele, are the best to work with. So we
They
like we
give the
like
most.
earners.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Then you
there's
have
the
the
good
good little cows
the
who are
good.
there because they have a kink. They have a milking kink where
Mhm.
they just want to be milked like a
Yeah.
heifer, like a cow, like a dairy
Well, or
cow.
they'll be verbal, right? They'll say, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, milk me, baby, get me more," or whatever.
And then the
And then there's one,
technicians are also like asked to wear either some milking outfit or to dress like wear like a milking apron because
a
those
milkmaid
clients a
outfit.
milkmaid outfit because their clients like that.
Oh yeah. So it's like a
That's
kink or a
but
fetish.
that's so degrading. Why would you require professionally your technicians to wear that? Wouldn't the company be like, absolutely not. This is a professional space. We do not do that here.
Depends on if the demand is high enough and you need this, right? So that's a business decision. You can't have clients that come in that are flaccid, right? You want to get
Yeah.
as much as you can. And it just seems like a lot. Like they are just getting a
So much
lot.
fucking sperm. It's like
So much.
they're jizzing like 24 ounces at a time. Oh,
Ugh.
so many of the descriptions in this book I found to be so vile. I hated the description of the sperm, the jizz going into glass milk bottles, just the visual. I'm like gagging right now. It's so gross. The size, LA, the size of the testicles that she describes and the fact that they're like massaging them to get out like more of the spunk just it makes me want to vomit. I am like so disgusted. I wanted to go and put two oranges in a pair of my husband's socks to see, like, look, this is what she's dealing with. I just thought it was just so gross.
It's a lot of spunk. So if you're
Yeah.
not
But
if
I
you're
know
not
that
about
some
that.
people have that kink and good for them. Go read this book. This book is for you, hands down.
Can we not to jump around, but
Mhm.
so Violet and Rorik at the end, they eventually do have sex. So the whole time you have this build up of these two people falling for each other, but at a distance, and then they meet outside of this whole situation and whatever, whatever. They go and they date too, so they do things kind of backwards, but then they eventually do bang and get to the banging scene. And you texted me, you're like, I'm at the sex scene. And I'm like,
I
Jesus,
was,
I'm still on chapter 2. It
yeah,
was Here's the thing with the sex scene for me. She tries to give him a blowjob.
she can't. She can't fit her mouth around it.
She she starts gagging, right? And then
Hmm.
Rourke pushes her off and starts gagging himself and is like, I can't stand gagging. Ugh,
He's like, if you're gonna gag, then I'm gonna gag. Don't do it. I
don't
don't
gag.
don't
This is so weird. There's so many weird parts in
but
this
that is
book.
I think that is like a common thing. Like if somebody else hears somebody else throwing up, then that makes them
Shut
feel
up.
like they're going to throw up.
Didn't know
Oh yeah,
that. First
totally.
time
Like
reading that.
no, when I feel like I'm gonna bring up a piece of my childhood and it feels so wrong in this context, but I'm gonna
Tell
do
me
it
everything.
anyway. So when I was little and I was throwing up, my dad could never take care of me. He could never help me because if I started throwing up, he would throw up.
Okay. Okay. I can see that with illness, but not like, well, I guess it's one and the same. It's still the
I think it's
whole
one and the same.
sound.
It's like the
Yeah.
sound and the action and the thought. I don't I get it.
It was just it was just weird. I it's just and with the towels and then his spunk has or his milk or whatever
Uh-huh.
they're having sex in the shower and he comes in the shower and he has to use
He comes so much that he has to
yeah,
use some special enzyme pod, which I'm imagining is like a little like Tide pod that you put
pod. Yeah. Yeah.
in the
Dishwasher
washer,
or
the
the
dishwasher.
laundry.
He
Yeah.
just throws in the bottom of the drain to break up the spunk.
Yeah, the
The
proteins within it
proteins.
because
Yeah.
it's I guess it's thick like milk. So,
Well, she describes it tasting as such.
yeah.
She
Ugh.
drinks it down. There's
Can we talk about Violet for a second? Violet to me, okay, so here's the thing with the author. If you
Mhm.
look at her dialogue, like her actual dialogue, she doesn't talk much in the book. Like she does not have
No,
a lot.
there's a lot of inner dialogue here.
Yeah, so when she does talk, it's so like very one worded or one
Hmm.
sentence or nothing. Like she doesn't actually have conversations with Rourke until kind of the end. And even at the end, I was like, I'm not jiving with Violet. She's stalker level crazy. Some of the inner dialogue that she was saying, like about do you remember these scenes where she's talking about moving to be closer to Rourke, but she didn't even know his name and
Or
like
like
wanting to
or like planning out where he must
what
live within their city.
Thank
Like,
you.
oh, he can't live
Thank you.
here because he said that milking area was too far of a drive for him. So that means that according to like where all the other milking stations are, and he only comes to mine, he must live around this one. So he must live in this city.
This is
Violet.
bad shit. This
And
is
then
bad shit.
and then she goes and like Facebook once she finds out his name, she goes and Facebook stalks him and finds
Yeah.
this random comment. But I mean, it's just like she finds like the random comments that lead to like his ex-wife
Yeah.
and then stalks her. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a lot. And
It
she's
was
already like shipping them together, marrying them in her head.
That's what it was. She would go in and just be like, I can see myself being married to him. I'm like, you don't know his name.
Yeah.
I just the whole
But it's
time
like,
I was
how
like,
sad is it? This is the only person who's ever been nice to me ish feeling vibe. I hate that.
yeah, yeah. It's just ugh. And then a lot of so in the writing, a lot of it she would flip back and forth, like from past to present, and it was very jarring and confusing. Like
Yeah.
she
And
would
there were like
be
weird time jumps too.
Yeah, especially at the end. I think she was trying to encapsulate more because Violet goes, she has to get this job to pay back. So all of that made sense. I think that was very clear and very it made sense. She had an apartment, she was driving to work every single day. She would see him at work, she would drive home.
Yeah.
She had this like coffee shop kind of or coffee addiction, trying to find like a good coffee shop. I thought that was cute and that was fun. But when it
Eh,
got towards the last couple of chapters where she was like interviewing with the werecat or whatever in order to get the job within this town so that she could be closer to work and actually use her degree and
yeah.
all that stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
it just was very
It was
jarring.
clunky. It was clunky.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of typos in the first very two chapters. There's three or four typos, which is fine too, but I don't know. I don't mean to be that person.
Well, I think when you see those as a reader, you're just kind of like, oh, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sets the wrong tone.
Yeah, because I think the concepts there because it's bananas, but I think she did a good job. There was some myth like building, I think. Do you remember how she talked about that plant shop with the three sisters?
The Beatles.
Yeah. I feel like that was a reference to the Oracle people. Do you remember the three sisters?
Oh, yeah.
Because
You know, I
Minotaurs
don't
are,
well,
yeah.
they she talked about like the labyrinth, like Orpheus, like the labyrinth and like Orpheus like throwing the sacrifices into the labyrinth for the Minotaur to find and eat and stuff. So she
Mhm.
was trying to throw in those bit of things. I all right, I'm a fantasy reader and you give me a fantasy world such as this and it wasn't built out. I didn't understand it. I didn't
Yeah.
understand the segregation about how there were human communities and Rourke came from a very small like Minotaur community, but there are also like humans involved with that community because he's I don't know, a quarter human or half human. I don't know. I just don't know how the world works with inner species. I don't understand how are there these I don't I feel wrong calling them monsters, but she calls it a monster romance. How are there these monsters? What's the explanation for this? And how
Yeah.
come she as a human is just noticing them? Or
Hmm.
just not noticing, but like discovering different types of monsters. Like you have like Mothmen and beetle people, werecats, vampires, elves, you have like freaking everybody in here. It's just a hodgepodge of monsters.
Yeah.
And I felt it was almost too much without any explanation.
I think we get the message. Like she's entering into a interspecies relationship, and then there's segregation in this world between humans and other monsters, and they are going to try to work a relationship in all of the judgments and whatever with it. I think that might have been an underlying theme in the book. I just don't think
But
it
it
was
was
executed very well.
no, it was too shallow. I
Yeah.
didn't know enough to maybe I cared too much and I wanted to know more. And she tried to explain it with her talking with Rourke's neighbor because she's an elf in a relationship with an orc, and she's talking about their relationship dynamics and how being different, their interspecies dynamics, and how it's always going to play into their relationship. I thought that was a really good conversation, especially for, I don't know, real life, thinking about people who are coming from different cultures. It's always going to be a piece of your relationship and trying to figure out how, not just how you fit, but culturally fit. There's always going to be like something, well, I want to do Christmas here, or I want to do like Ramadan with my family during this month, and just figuring out the importance of things. So I did like that conversation and mirroring our reality.
Yeah. Curious if the author is in a racial relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like pulling from hers and then just making it a little fantastical.
For sure.
And talk about the coffee shop stuff really quick. That's how they meet each other outside of the milking farm, is that they have this small little conversation during the milking session, if you will. And she was saying how she had gone to that coffee shop that was just like sludge. And he said, no, 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 you need to go to whatever this one's called, black something. And they have really like fantastical drinks, but like they have all these drinks that are catered towards all sorts of species, right? Like it's
Mhm.
not just coffee, like human coffee. Kind of was like a little reminiscent of Legends and Lattes a little bit, but inverted. You had human coffee and like human type things, but you had a place where everybody would get together and it was a melting pot of species. And
Yeah.
because I read Legends and Lattes, I put them in Legends and Lattes. I liked it, but I thought some of those coffee scenes were like too long, didn't make sense. Everything was
Yeah.
happening there.
They were really long and just drawn out, and I found myself scanning a lot of those parts.
Yeah. I mean, it's just Gillias or whoever the vampire friend
Is
she
it
met at
Gillis?
Gillis. Yeah. That whole scene was weird, like trying to avert somebody and by grabbing
Introduce a new
Violet.
character. Yeah, the introducing of Gillis was a little disjointed because she clearly wanted
Yes.
to add a monster friend for Violet. And I like the addition of Gillis. I think the way that the relationship went about was odd.
Yes, I agree. And I think that there could have been more in-depth conversations that Violet had with Gillis. Gillis was all just about the sex and the da, da, da. She had more of those
Yeah.
heartfelt relationships with the neighbor.
Yeah.
But it was just, I don't know, it was just weird, I thought. But this coffee shop to me, I mean, you're in this town. You know what it also reminded me of? You know Halloween Town?
Oh, yeah. Yes. You know what? I think that's also how I envisioned it going.
Yeah.
Like these really weird, made up creatures coming in
Yes.
and out.
Yeah, and it's set like at in the middle of summer, at the end of summer, whatever. So it's like autumn vibes, I think she talks
Yeah.
about. And it's just, I don't know, it just seemed very like she does a really good job putting that picture in your head at times, and then and then it gets disjointed with other things. But I think that she could have done more locations in the town. I think that she could have done
Yeah.
things other than the coffee shop. Well, but she did do, I take that back. It is, I
She
wanted
tried to do
more.
stuff in like Bridgeton and making and letting us know that Bridgeton, which is like the big city that Cambric Creek is a suburb of, was mainly human populated. And that
Yeah.
monsters weren't really living there. Like they worked there, but they weren't very present. So they had like their first date, and she brought him up to her apartment, and she was like, he barely fits in my apartment, and just thinking about like his hooves in the bed because he has hooves. Mm. We talked about how they did the reverse dating, but because basically she starts their relationship is her jacking him off. And then they meet at the coffee shop and he buys her a coffee. He tries to ask her out on a date. She's, I'm here on a date. Um, and then and he's like, oh no. So it takes them forever just to get on this date. They go on a date and they start off really slow. They start off doing nothing, just going on little dates together. And then she invites him up to her apartment where he he is very large and hardly fits, and is, if I get into your bed, my hooves are gonna tear up your sheets. Ugh. And then LA. She's been thinking about this and dreaming about this whole time, but she gets eaten out by him. Okay, and you got your masturbation scenes at the beginning of this book, and now I'm getting my eat him out scenes. And I was gagging. I could not, I could not, I could not enjoy this. This whole time, I'm imagining like this cow face between her legs, like licking at her like she's like a salt lick. I just is so gross. It's so gross. I I couldn't get by
No,
it.
stop. We have a great barbecue place in Texas called the Salt Lick, and I
This
will
is now
never stop.
and then LA, LA. So, okay. I grew up
No.
I grew up in Texas, where at HEB, which is like the big best grocery store in the world, you go in, they would sell cow tongue in like the meat department. And so that I'm gonna
Blech.
throw Ugh. That is what I thought of during this whole scene in LA. I hated it. I hated it so much.
Well, so can we compare a little bit to okay, so we did Monster Romances, which is Katie Robert, right? And
Mhm.
our biggest irk with it is that she doesn't have enough plot or doesn't have enough whatever, but she doesn't have enough pages because they're novellas, blah, blah, blah. Kind of like a similar irk here.
Yeah.
But with her monster romances, they're not disgusting. They're just weird,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
This one was just it latched onto a kink and went
When
crazy with it,
yeah.
right?
I couldn't get on board. I couldn't get on board with this Minotaur. And I LA I
Oh.
I wanted to, but I couldn't. And then they don't have sex until she goes to his house for a weekend, right?
Yeah.
And this sex scene is so gross.
Mhm. Mhm.
I couldn't. I was I was like laughing because I was so uncomfortable.
Oh. Yeah, it wasn't the best.
No. Ooh. I don't know what
Oh.
else to say about it. I mean,
Maybe that's
it
a saying in itself if we literally don't have the words.
I mean, because she's just talking about his hot there's so many references to like cows and bovines and beef in this book. And so she's like talking about like the suede feeling of his hide. And I'm like, ugh, gross. And how it like covers all of him, including his balls. And I'm just like dying inside thinking about how massive these balls are. And then they just swing everywhere. He starts doing her from behind and they're like swinging up and hitting her. I don't.
And this is marked on Amazon slash Kindle as a bestseller and one of the and it also has a tag for the for best books on Book Talk.
Oh my God. I mean, and just
This is
like,
the best of the best, Holly.
so there's just so many ridiculous things in here, like 24 ounces of his hot milk, covered as she was in his stick sweet cream. What else do I have here? Oh my God, I can't even read this last one. It's so bad. When the first burst of his thick cream hit her throat, she swallowed greedily.
Ugh. Yeah, some of the adjectives and verbs in here.
But it's also kind of funny. I'm laughing, but I'm also uncomfortable. So I don't know what to do with those two feelings because I feel like the author knows how she's making the readers feel like, hey, this is really silly and funny, but also it's kind of gross.
By the way, I think this book is still indie published. It said Medusa Editorial was the one that published this book that I got from Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
but I looked that up and they said that they're just a small publishing house, but they're not. or a small publishing vendor or something. So I don't know, but they recovered these. And did you see the original cover with the hand and the glove?
Yes, I did. The cover of this book is special.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
the cover of this book is like an Avon romance book, but with a minotaur, right?
Yeah.
And he has a cow face. He is a cow.
Can we talk a little bit, speaking of cow face, the piercing, the nose piercing?
I loved that. Did you not?
I don't know how to feel about it. I don't not like it. Did you see Sorry, I'm gonna read this for you. Did you see the viral TikTok of the cow that had a nose infection and the farmer comes and pulls out all the gunk?
No.
Yeah, I couldn't unsee that. So like
Oh,
when
poor
they start
baby.
talking about the nose and stuff, I just
Yeah.
think about stuff anyways.
I
Um
think of septum
but
piercings, not that.
yeah, see, I think that that's hot, but also it's a cow. So I'm thinking about like a fat face and then a big ass ring. You know how they're not small. But yeah, so in this book, what I do is what it represented. So like for the Minotaur culture is different. And so whenever they would get, it wasn't married, but it was whenever they would be bonded with
Oh,
another, then they would go. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
he said divorced. So I guess it
Yeah,
is
they
like
were
married.
married. Yeah.
Yeah. But I loved the whole she didn't know if he was married or not thing
Yeah.
because he was divorced, but he hadn't taken out the ring yet. And so she found out that Minotaurs that have rings are married. So she was skeptical and figuring out if he was single or not was very cute. And I really liked that section.
Yeah, I
Um,
like that whole section of them kind of feeling each other out. Does she have somebody who she's dating? Does she have a boyfriend? Is he married or what's happening with him? Yeah,
yeah,
that was a
exactly.
good
I
part of
like
the
that.
book.
On. You know how
No,
people drag
it
it
got
on?
super fast after that. Yeah. Well, that's because it was so much of a buildup before that. The whole first half of this book was her just jacking him off once a week. Sorry, milking him. Her just milking him once a week,
Jesus Christ.
getting his sweet, sweet cream.
How did you feel? And then here's another random thing. While Violet is at the milking farm, she goes and she starts having a little bit of a rapport with Rorik, but they're not going out, they're not seeing each other yet, blah blah blah. Or maybe they met each other at the coffee shop so they know their names. Anyways, she goes back to the milking farm and she leaves for 2 weeks because there was a death in her family, like her grandmother or
Hmm.
something. I feel
Yeah.
like that was so breezy, whatever. Her little trainee that she had before she left apparently still milked Rourke. And I'm like,
Yeah,
and
that was
there's no jealousy, there's no whatever. And then Rourke, when she finally got her job, she still was like, well, I'm still gonna do the milking farm and still gonna milk him. What?
I think there's a bit of a feminist tone to this book. You can go do the things that you enjoy if this job is not that it's like bringing her joy to milk a bunch of minotaurs, but she's fine with the work. It gives her lots of extra money to pay off her debt and everything, and it doesn't bother her because to minotaurs it's not a sexual thing. I mean, to the good little cows it is, but to minotaurs it's not a sexual thing. And so for him, well, I don't, if you don't want to stop this job, you don't have to.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because it that is mentioned throughout the book that it's not a sexual thing for them.
Yeah, they do mention sex work or whatever,
Hmm.
but not in so many words.
But it
Because in
definitely
I think
is
whenever
sex work between them two.
Yeah, like yeah, for sure. But there's like a breeding one. That's the next one. Did you hear about this?
No, I did not even look into the next one because I'm not going to seek it out, I think.
Oh man. I might have to just to get you to laugh and just give you like a review of how bananas. The next one, I think, and I could be wrong, I think it's a rare werewolf one that goes in heat and it's like a breeding thing and they're at a
Oh,
facility.
I do love werewolves. Okay, well, maybe. Wait,
Yeah.
they're at a facility breeding?
Yeah, something like that.
What is
Yeah,
happening?
yeah. See, don't. Don't come for me. Here, let me just look it up before. Hold on. Yeah, it's in a 4-book series, and the second one is called Sweet Berries.
Mm-hmm.
And it says Grace has a job she loves, a community she adores, and plenty of friends, but her lack of bedroom action has left this event planner too horny to think. When one ill-advised night at the bar leads to giving her an exhibitionist show to an unknown presence outside her bedroom window, she thinks she'll hit a new low when her voyeur turns out to be a charming Mothman. No, this isn't the right one. Hold on. No, no. Erase everything from your mind. Sorry.
Okay.
Book three. Book
Uh-huh.
three is called Moon-Blooded Breeding Clinic. Hmm.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Okay.
So it says Lau Hemming is stuck, grounded from his job as a photographer. This globe-trotting werewolf is pulling his hair out, being back in his small hometown with no end to the current situation in sight. The first Hemming to leave Camber Creek in several generations, he's feeling the pressure from his mother to move back home permanently, is chafed by his inescapable family name, and hasn't gotten laid in months. When he picks up an intriguingly worded flyer, he hopes that his boredom is about to come to an end for the first time in her life. Mariah has an open door for possibly before her. Recently divorced, she owns interesting. Recently divorced. She owns her own home, her interior design business. There's only one thing holding her back: the desire to have a child. So here's what the clinic offers. Sorry, I'm skipping down. Offers a unique circuit. Trigger a heat and breed with a werewolf in a controlled setting right before the full moon. Their success rates are higher than multi-species IVF, cheaper than adoption, and more enjoyable than most trips to the clinic. This is a baby trope one.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship is a transact. I want to read this one.
That one actually, I don't hate the sound of because there's
Yeah,
not
sorry.
like a cow-faced man.
No, he's a werewolf in this one. Yeah,
I think
sorry.
that's
So
also
you can cut
something
all
I
that out.
couldn't get over in this book was his cow face. And like, how are they kissing? How is this working? I just want to vomit.
Whole
Hooves,
face.
the whole face. Just like his takes her his like tongue in her oh my God, I'm gonna throw up. I can't. I don't understand it.
Good times, good times.
I have such a hard time wrapping my head around Rorik and Violet.
Yeah, same.
And even the ending of this book, I wasn't quite sure. I feel like they're going to end up together and he's going to get another divorce because they're going to be like, what did we just do?
You know what this kind of, okay, I've brought this up to you many times and I've probably said it on the podcast before, but there's that show that I watch called Naked Attraction and it's
Mm-hmm.
on HBO. Did I tell you
Right.
about this show yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have 6 pods, you have a person that chooses somebody based on their physical appearance. It goes up. So the first thing that they show is bottom half. And so if it's
Mm-hmm.
a male who's interested in women, so there's 6 women up there, and so it shows the vagina. And then it goes up and it shows, your chest down, and then it shows your face, and then you talk. So there's 4 rounds. And then you get down to the last 2, and then that person comes out naked, and then I guess there's some sort of like physical thing. Who knows? Whatever. But what
Yeah.
happens every time on the show, every single time what happens is they get down to the last 2 people and you
Mm-hmm.
know which one that the person should be with, not based
Yeah.
basically on like their physical appearance, but like their location, like where they live and like their interests and like their job and like all this
Right.
other stuff. They go for the hot person.
Every
And
time.
then every time they go for the hot person. And then they go on a date fully clothed, right? And
Yeah.
they film that. And then they go a month later and they follow up to see like what happened. And every single time, Holly, they fuck one another and then they don't speak
They're
again.
done. They're done.
They're
One and done.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like it was all based off of
How
like
people look.
physical.
Yeah.
Yes. Violet is 10 years younger than Rourke. He's
And
divorced.
she is
She's
infatuated with his chubby dick.
yeah.
And
There was
like
no, I mean, there was nothing. What did they relate on? What hobbies or
we
things
don't
did they
know
do?
because we have no idea. We never talk about it. The author never tells us anything about their conversations. The most I think I know about Rorik is that he likes dessert first before
Yeah,
his other
lots of
meal. Like,
dessert. Yeah. Yeah. And then he
okay,
eats her dessert. Like, do
yeah.
they play Scrabble? So then they
Huh?
go on a bunch of dates, but like, what do they do?
What do they do? I don't know.
They
Apparently
just look
not
at each other.
fuck. Yeah.
So why did he get a divorce from his previous wife? What happened there?
Don't know.
Just so there's way too many questions, I think, that were just left, and a lot of fluff was given to build for the romance, and it fell short. But
Yeah.
I
I
think this
think
is her first in the series. It'll get better.
once they got together, it got weird. Not weird, but very surface level.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. Yeah, my prediction is they don't last.
I don't think, I mean, from what I have been told, no, I don't think they'll last.
Well, should we talk about the next crazy ass thing we're reading next? Because I did start it.
You've started. I haven't started it yet, but I'm excited to announce our next read. Are we ready? What are we reading next, LA?
Should I build it up or just announce it? What do you want?
Ooh, I want to build up. What do you got for me
Oh,
in build up?
okay. All right. So this is by one of my favorite authors who I actually met in person, not to brag, but there's a brag. Her sex scenes are delicious and fun
Uh-huh,
and
uh-huh, uh-huh.
amazing, but she's also known for writing taboo romances, specifically in the Catholic Church. So we are going to read Sierra Simone's Priest.
I am so excited.
Yes.
This is our freaky deaky phase of the podcast where we
Hmm.
do crazy, funky, weird monster baiting romance, and now we're gonna do some real taboo romance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You follow, I get his name's Tyler. He's a 29-year-old priest that's in, I think it's Missouri or Kansas, one of those states. And in walks Poppy, and Poppy is a exotic dancer.
Oh, Poppy, what are you doing?
Yeah. So, and he's obviously hot and sexy, and
He's
she is
ready. Is
too.
he ready to
Mhm.
pop off?
Oh my God. It's the humor in this to me so far is hilarious. I like it a lot.
I'm so excited to pick it up.
It's yeah, but it's a pretty. Oh my God.
I can't wait. I'm so excited to talk about it next
It's
week.
also a little dark. It's dark. So,
Ooh, okay.
mhm, mhm.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
All right. Until next
Okay.
time.
Until next time. Bye.
Bye. I'm so glad you made me read this.